Hello, my name is Duncan Mays, and I'd like to present a debate on two statements that are made in the article Artificial Intelligence and the Modern Productivity Paradox. The paradox is that the capabilities of AI systems have drastically increased in recent years, and the optimism and investment in these fields have grown drastically as well. This optimism isn't reflected in the economy, however. Productivity growth has been low since this recent AI revolution. The authors offer four possible explanations for this. The first is that AI hype is essentially based on false hopes, and that current generation AI technology do not offer significant productivity benefits as claimed. Secondly, AI is a fairly unique technology. Its productivity growth signature is different from other game-changing technologies. And so the economists who wrote this article might be mismeasuring its footprint. The third explanation is that AI causes very concentrated productivity growth. Many industries are unaffected by this, and some industries actually shrink as a result of this. Think about self-driving cars. If the majority of employees in an industry get laid off and replaced by AI, this could reduce productivity statistics. Fourthly, there could be restructuring lags in place. There needs to be some infrastructure in place in order for AI to be implemented. And so if that infrastructure doesn't exist, we wouldn't see productivity growth as a result of AI technology. Of those four options, the authors argue that number four is most likely the case today. And so there are two statements that we will debate in this presentation. The first is that restructuring lags are indeed what is responsible for the low productivity growth. And the second is that all three other options are false, that restructuring lags are the only option that can adequately explain low productivity growth. In favor of statement one, implementing AI requires many pre-tasks to be completed. AI can only be applied to problems with a large data set on them. And moreover, GPUs are often developed hand in hand with AI technology. If there isn't adequate compute resources in place, and AI cannot be implemented to solve that problem. Also, with respect to other software, AI requires fairly different expertise. The requirements for developing and implementing AI are very peculiar. It's a strange beast, and so companies need to adapt to be able to use it. There's a bit of a feedback loop. AI provides value for certain things like big data sets and GPUs and expertise in AI. And so these data sets and expertise are only gathered after AI can prove its value. And so this could slow the development and implementation of AI algorithms, since collecting data sets takes a while. Contrary to statement one, expertise can be learned online to a low degree. I think the majority of people could learn a great deal about training AI algorithms from YouTube. There are undergraduate level courses that are taught entirely on YouTube. Moreover, cheap consumer grade GPUs, which are less than $1,000 US, can run these AI algorithms and have been able to for the last 10 years. AlexNet, which was a cutting edge result in 2012, was trained on two GTX 1050s. Also, the means to collect vast sums of data have existed for some time now for quite a few companies. In all, the delay in productivity growth has lasted too long to be explained by these factors. Contrary to statement two now, Manike et al., who was a second set of authors that were referenced by the authors of this article, showed that current generation AI tech could at least partially automate 45% of the jobs in the US. And zooming in on a subset of those jobs, self-driving cars will revolutionize transport, and that's pretty easy to justify. Most cars are parked for around 95% of the time, and so even if it's a little inconvenient, transportation as a service that uses self-driving cars and saves on wages will be far cheaper and therefore the best option for consumers. And this argument is even easier to make for freight transport. Companies are much more cost sensitive than consumers and have the capital at hand to invest in things like a self-driving fleet of cars. The third argument against statement 2 is a little soft and built off intuition. Too many smart people from too many areas of research are backing AI, and it feels almost arrogant to think that these people are wrong. Also against statement 2, growth caused by AI is highly concentrated. A small number of developers could replace a whole workforce if the task that workforce performs is able to be automated. Also, AI usually takes over tasks that are done by humans, and so it'll reduce the wage expenses of companies, which affects the productivity calculation. Like, AI improves capital productivity, not labor productivity, and this makes it different from other game-changing technologies like IT and electricity. And so economists don't have the tools to measure AI's productivity footprint. Measurement error could be quite significant in this case. In favor of statement 2, hype and capital flow do not imply growth or usefulness. Every equity crash in history is built off unfounded optimism. A good example to reference here is the dot-com bubble. Plenty of people who had lots of knowledge about the technology at hand invested plenty of money and turned out to be wrong. It turned out to be a bubble. Also, with reference to statement 2, economists have figured out how to measure concentrated productivity growth in the past. Even if this article cited statistics that were out of context and not quite proper, it's only a matter of time until economists figure out a way to measure the productivity growth as a result of AI. In conclusion, the article justified many claims with hard data, but it also made claims that could not be justified with hard data. And so it's hard to argue conclusively for or against these claims. In all, it was a very well-structured and well-written article. Thank you for your time.